Alright folks, as you guys can see, there's a couple boats in formation here. There's 4 on this formation that's closest, and then there's another separate formation out there where there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots way further out there. At this point, we're not 100% certain if this is the same pod that broke into 2 parts or if it's 2 separate pods. Sorry there. As the boats get closer, we'll try to get a close-up photo so we can confirm the species. And there's quite a bit of a swell out there today. I know it's hard to see on the live stream, but there's some big swells out on the open ocean which caused the drive to move a little bit more slowly, it seems. We first sighted the formation way offshore at about 9 a.m. and it's about an hour and a half later right now. So it took them quite a while to get to this point. And folks, please share this live stream and please be sure to visit that Take Action link. It's pinned in the comments on our Facebook stream and it's in the description of our live stream as well. There's steps that you guys can take from anywhere you are in the world. There's a list of authorities we can continually contact and urge them to put an end to these cruel hunts. There, now it looks like we can see both formations in frame. We've got the 4 boats that are closer to us over to the left, and then an additional 6 boats further out just below the horizon. And there's a big wake coming out of the 6. Oopsies. Bumped you guys there. So the boats we're looking at right now are commonly called the banger boats. That's because they have large poles that they have on those boats. Holes in the water when they find dolphins and bang on them, which creates a really loud sound underwater. And when they all line up next to each other in that formation, that's like a line of boats, all of them creating that sound underwater creates a wall, an acoustic wall essentially, which herds the dolphins in the direction that the boats push them. Dolphins are very, very sensitive to sounds. So we can only imagine how loud and terrifying and confusing the banger boats must be for them. The act of chasing them by boat alone is illegal in many countries. Just this act of chasing and harassing them would be reason for outrage in other parts of the world. But unfortunately, there's no nationwide legal protection for marine mammals in Japan. These hunts are completely legal and they are closely guarded by local authorities, such as police, the Coast Guard, and in some cases, city officials as well. thank you guys for sharing. Please continue to share, tag your friends, share to different pages, tag news outlets, retweet this if you're on Twitter. Just the more eyes we can get on this, the better. The only thing that keeps this dolphin hunt profitable is the connection to the captivity industry. The dolphins that they capture alive and train here in Taiji sell for far, far more than a dead dolphin does. Thus, the captivity aspect also drives the slaughter. And if the demand for captive dolphins ends, then the cruelty ends as well. It's like a comment just came in on Twitter. I'm not sure what country you were talking about there. But the U.S. does have a Marine Mammal Protection Act passed in 1972, which explicitly protects whales, dolphins, pinnipeds, and other marine mammals. So on both our Twitter and Facebook live streams, you guys can see the further formation with the 6 boats, and the closer formation is over to the side here. The hunters typically use this path. They'll push the dolphins in by the rocks there and towards the mouth of the Taiji harbor, and then from that point use the land part of the coastline to kind of like a wall to keep the dolphins corralled. And they'll push them over to the cove. I'll try to keep you guys on a visual of both formations here. We've got some smaller boats passing below us. It's out of frame for you guys on our live stream, but the Japanese Coast Guard and the some of the hunters just went towards the cove in a skiff. Alright, for those of you that have joined us more recently, we do have 2 formations here. We have a larger formation with the boats that are in frame for you guys, And then there's another formation with 4 of the banger boats over behind where these branches are. It's potentially looking like 2 separate species. The ones further in this formation that we're looking at now is quite a bit smaller than the ones over to our right. And again, we're trying to get some close-up photos so we can have a 100% confirmation on the species before we announce it. So if we go quiet sometimes, we're probably taking footage and photos. You guys a little bit so you have a better view. Please continue to share this live stream, folks. Please share and tag your friends if you're watching on Facebook, and retweet it, and tag news outlets if you're on Twitter. Those boats are really moving fast now. And for you folks that have joined us more recently, we do have two separate formations right now. They're quite close together. There's the one with the boats that are in frame now, and there's another formation just behind the bush here. And we're still trying to get a positive species ID on both of these groups. As they get closer, you guys also might be able to see some of the splashes from the pod. Okay, the boats might be going out of view here as we are kind of at the spot in front of the Taiji Harbor right now. If they go in the path that they typically do, they'll be kind of popping in and out of view. So we'll try to keep you guys on the best visual that we can. You know, Twitter, it's especially hard for you guys to see right now, just due to the vertical orientation. Yeah, there are also a few skiffs that are out there with them right now. Again, guys, the formation's kind of going in and out of view as it goes behind this bush right here. But if they go the path they normally do, they'll be coming into view from the right side of the screen and moving towards the left here shortly, depending on how fast they get a handle on the pod. Folks, I know it's a bit frustrating when they go out of view for you guys. The visibility is pretty low in the spot we're at now, but we're anticipating the boats to move from that bush over on the right hand side over to the left as they get closer to the cove. You guys can kind of see how big the swells are. They're rolling on right in here. That's one of the reasons why it took the formation a while to get this close to shore. Folks, if you haven't already, be sure to go to that Take Action link that's pinned in our comments on Facebook, and that's in the description of the live stream as well. There's steps that you guys can take. There's a list of authorities we can continually contact, members of the Japanese government and authorities in the captivity industry. And the live captured dolphins, the sale of the live captured dolphins is the only thing that keeps these hunts profitable. The demand for dolphin meat is very little in Japan. In the cases of slaughters, it's publicized that the purpose of the slaughter is to provide dolphin meat for Japanese people. However, it's an extremely niche market, and in past seasons we've seen leftover meat from the previous season before they've even hunted anything. We're hearing some engine noise and movement. It sounds like they're starting to move kind of in the direction that they'll come into view here soon. And I see a lot of comments coming in for people that just joined us. Right now the boats are out of view. Let me see if I can kind of peek over the bush here to give you guys a little bit of a visual. But through the branches, they're kind of in that area. There's several banger boats and skiffs. Let me see if I can move you a little higher as well. There you can see some of the boats peeking through the branches there. slowly moving in this direction. And then to recap for you guys that have recently joined us, there were 2 separate drive formations, and it looks like they have potentially merged them at this point. We're still trying to get some close-up shots of what the species is. We have an idea of what they might be, but we don't want to announce it until we're 100% certain. They're slowly moving, guys. There's some skiffs down there that are assisting with the push as well. And thank you to all who have shared the live streams, guys. A big part of why we do the live streams on social media is just to spread awareness, because there's so many people who still aren't aware, especially people within Japan. And there's very little media coverage in these hunts. Seems like they're kind of struggling to get these dolphins moving. We've been in this little spot for a while. Once more. Anticipating them to come back into view here. You can kind of see a little bit of wake of one of the boats moving through the branches. There we go, there's a banger boat that's moving more into view now. I'll kind of shift you guys there. Alright folks, it looks like the group of dolphins below us is in fact striped dolphins. And as these boats get closer, you might be able to hear the banging that they're creating. The smaller boats are the skiffs that are in the middle. They have these objects, these like heavy metal objects that are tied to a line. They'll continually throw that into the water to additionally create sound and underwater. As we mentioned earlier, dolphins are very, very sensitive to sound. You guys can probably see the dolphins. Some of the splashes, the larger splashes, is from the skiffs throwing that metal object into the water. Again, folks, for those of you that have just joined us, this is a group of striped dolphins. Alright, as they continue moving, I'm going to move you guys also. I'm going to zoom you out briefly so it doesn't shake as much as I move. Another vantage point. And from here, you guys might be able to see some of the rocks below. Those rocks are just at the mouth of the cove. This month we have seen them take striped for captivity, and they've also slaughtered them as well. As we were driving over to this vantage point, we did see that the butcher house, or the building that the hunters use in the harbor, has the tarps up, which typically indicates that they're preparing for a slaughter. They're preparing to process the dolphins that are slaughtered. Dolphins are just coming into view down below us there. Looks like they've kind of pushed them where they want them to be. We're going to move one more time. I'm going to zoom you out as I move. And as we go, guys, you can see how much growth there is, how many trees and branches. There's very limited visibility up here, and the hunters fully use that to their advantage. scoot this over to your side a little bit. Sure. Okay. Trying to get both Facebook and Twitter on a good visual here. They're drawing that first net. These striped dolphins have a very unique pattern. They're a dark gray on the top and a light gray on their side, with a really pretty stripe that goes along their sides. The pattern to this species is unique and very beautiful. It's certainly a shame that they're subjected to this type of exploitation. Dolphins are swimming quite close together. And offshore striped dolphins are a very offshore species. They typically stay far from the coast in very deep waters. They're capable of diving over 2,000 feet. Drawing another net across right now to push them closer to the cove. They typically put several layers of nets to trap the dolphins in here. They do have the tarps drawn below us as well. There's a beach down below us towards the bottom of your screen, and they put tarps to cover that area in effort to hide what they do. But many of us are aware of what happens down there, which is the captive selection process as well as slaughters. Looks like they're trying to push the dolphins even closer to that tarped area right now. Wow. Oh, one's up against the rocks. There's one dolphin that kind of surfaced with its head on the rock just now. It's throwing itself on the rocks. It looks like that dolphin dove back down. It's not unusual for us to see dolphins start throwing themselves up against the rocks in apparent self-harm. Oh gosh, one dolphin just came up right by the motor of that skiff. Wow. Things are moving very quickly right now. Point you guys a little bit more downward. It's difficult to keep both Facebook and Twitter in view with the growth here, but we'll do the best we can as we're taking footage and photos. Oh, there's a dolphin down there in the rocks, by the rocks again. Keeps popping up and down, stuck in the net. He's completely wrapped up in the orange net. Doesn't appear that anyone's coming to help this dolphin. Dolphins are air breathers like we are. They're mammals. It's very possible for them to get tangled in this net and drown. Okay guys, this dolphin has been in this net for a while now. Still no one's coming to get it out. very close to the rocks right now. And with the amount of swell and surge that's in the water today, it's getting just tossed around. The dolphin has gone down. It's underwater right now. Let's come back up. This dolphin's really struggling, guys. Goodness. This is just horrific. Look through the tubes. This dolphin's been stuck in the net for minutes now, folks. There's been no effort to disentangle it. looks like the hunters finally went over to get that dolphin out of the net. There was a second one that was also entangled. They grabbed that one by the flukes and took it out. Folks, this is Rickleberry's Dolphin Project. We're live above the Cove as they have driven in a pod of striped dolphin today. Right now they have them all netted in and under the tarps. There are several divers in the water down below. They're kind of behind those bushes, so I don't know if you guys can see. Most of what's happening is taking place out of our sight right now. A lot of yelling. Oh, they've got a dolphin over there by the rocks. Both divers are charging at it. It's like they've pushed it under the tarps out of our view.
Right now it's just a lot of yelling and revving of the engines of the skiffs. And the water is turning from the blood and from all the sediment that gets kicked up under there with all the thrashing and activity on the beach there. Three hunters in that skiff, though, in the middle of the screen are communicating with and gesturing and giving hand signals to the hunters under the tarps. Still diver in the water at the bottom left hand of your screen by the net. And there's several skiffs down there, guys. They're all to the right of your screen. The one just came out. There's a couple more that are backing out. Dolphins in the Cove right now, and we're waiting to see what their fate is going to be. We saw one that got caught in the net and struggled up against the rocks for a very long time. We saw another one that got caught in the net, and they got a hold of it and got it out of the net and tied it by its fluke and dragged it onto the killing beach. The water is turning red. Right now, everything that's happening is happening out of our sight. And folks, this unnecessary and cruel process, it profits from the captivity industry. When they take live dolphins into captivity, they can sell them for quite a lot of money to dolphinariums around the world, where people want to buy tickets to be entertained by dolphins. So please share this live stream, spread the word, tell everybody that you know that this is where that entertainment comes from. And if we can stop the demand for performing live dolphins, then we can stop the supply here, hopefully. That is our goal in outreach. We have not seen any trainers here as of yet. So folks, although these hunts take place here in Taiji, Japan every year for 6 months out of the year, captivity industry is a global problem because live dolphins are supplied to aquariums all over the world. We do not actually know that this is even going on. So to recap, if you're just joining us, this is Rick O'Berry's Dolphin Project. We're live here on Takababi Mountain above the Cove, as a pod of striped dolphins has been netted off in the Cove. It's about a little after 11:30 here in Japan. We first spotted this drive about 9 o'clock. Right now they're all down below. The tarps are drawn, the skiff's engines are revving, the hunters are down there and we're waiting to see what the fate of these dolphins is going to be. Thank you for joining us and staying with us. We really appreciate your support. This is not an easy thing to watch. And you can still hear the hunters talking to each other down there under the tarps. and not try to interfere, and why we're not doing anything. First of all, we are doing something very important, which is live streaming. We're getting all kinds of footage, and we're documenting the last moments of these dolphins' lives and freedom, and that's extremely important. We can't interfere in any way. We don't break any laws here in Japan. We're very respectful about that. Any type of interference would cause us to be arrested and deported, and first of all, that wouldn't do the dolphins any good, and it would and continue to show this to the world, what's happening here. So please continue to share the live stream. We need all eyes on this. And right now, folks, we're just waiting for the skiffs to come out. The state of these dolphins is. Skiff out there with hunters in it. It appears they just have the net that they took up. You can follow him. You can click on the Take Action links that are pinned to this live stream, and there are a lot of things that you guys can do wherever you live to help out and help the dolphins, help be part of the change, help stop this. We urge you all also to take the pledge not to buy a ticket to a dolphin show, and ask your family and friends all to do the same. So the skiffs that are visible to us right now contain nets. And we're pulling up another net on the left-hand side. So folks, striped dolphins tend to not do well in captivity at all. Not that any dolphin does, but they don't tend to live very long when taken into captivity. So most of the time the striped dolphins are mostly slaughtered, but we will see. Again, no skiffs with bodies, alive or dead, have come out from under the tarps. We've seen a couple dolphins struggling against the rocks. We saw a couple stuck in the nets. The water below is red and murky. And we're waiting. Okay, we have a skiff coming out. It'll come out at the bottom of your screen. It does contain a gray tarp, and that indicates that the tarp is covering the bodies of deceased striped dolphins. Okay, that skiff has just crossed the outer net. There's 3 hunters sitting on top of the gray tarp, which is covering the bodies of the striped dolphins that their lives were taken from them under the tarps this morning. Okay, the skiff that just came out was loaded with nets, and the hunters were sitting on top of the nets. I didn't see any tarps, but we'll review our footage a little bit more closely later to make sure. A lot of revving of the engines under there. I'm expecting another skiff to come out here shortly. Okay, here comes another skiff. Okay, again, this skiff contains gray tarps that are covering the bodies of the dolphins that their lives were taken from them this morning in the cove. And they're using the cover of the trees so that we can't get a shot of them, but they'll come out in a minute. So folks, to recap, this is Rick O'Berry's Dolphin Project. We're live on Takababi Mountain above the Cove in Taiji, Japan. And what you're witnessing is a pod of striped dolphins who were driven into the cove this morning. We first spotted the drive about 9 a.m. It's now almost noon here in Taiji. We've had 2 skiffs come out with bodies under gray tarps. We have not had any dolphins taken live captive as of yet. You can see the murky red color of the water down below from the blood, and just from all the activity down there, it stirs up the sediment too. And we're waiting to see what else comes out from under the tarps. Again, what makes these unnecessary and cruel hunts profitable are the live captures. They don't make a lot of money on dead dolphins that are sold for their meat. However, it is quite profitable, and they can make up to 6 figures for a well-trained live dolphin. And captivity is a global issue. It's not just Japan. There are tons of aquariums that these dolphins go to around the world. China, Russia, just to name a few. So this is not just a Japanese problem, and not all Japanese people are even aware that this goes on here. So what you guys can do is share the live stream. Just continue to share it. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Retweet and share our posts. You can go to the Take Action links that are pinned to this live stream. There are a lot of different things you guys can do to help the dolphins from wherever you are. I see a diver in the water down there going along that net, probably just making sure that there are no bodies. They haven't missed anything down there. So folks, we're going to end our live stream. It appears that they are done with everything that they're going to do today. A pod of striped dolphins was driven into the cove and their lives have all been extinguished this morning. We will post a summary and more footage once we review all of our footage. We will post a summary and an update later this afternoon. Thank you guys for joining us and staying with us. Captivity is a global issue. It's not just Japan. There are tons of aquariums that these dolphins go to around the world. China, Russia, just to name a few. So this is not just a Japanese problem, and not all Japanese people are even aware that this goes on here. So what you guys can do is share the live stream. Just continue to share it. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Retweet and share our posts. You can go to the Take Action links that are pinned to this live stream. There are a lot of different things you guys can do to help the dolphins from wherever you are. I see a diver in the water down there going along that net, probably just making sure that there are no bodies. They haven't missed anything down there. So folks, we're going to end our live stream. It appears that they are done with everything that they're going to do today. A pod of striped dolphins was driven into the cove and their lives have all been extinguished this morning. We will post a summary and more footage once we review all of our footage. We will post a summary and an update later this afternoon. Thank you guys for joining us and staying with us.